ask Pastor Chester Davis to say a prayer for us, and then Commissioner Ashbrook pledge.
Gracious Father God, it's again that we bow before you. To thank you, O God, for allowing us to see another day's journey and blessing us, O God, for a great nation. We thank you now for our city commission, O God, the meeting that we have going forward to take care of the needs and the responsibility of our city. I pray you touch our hearts and our minds, O God, to guide us, O God, that we'll do what's best according to your will. We thank you now for this opportunity. We pray not only for our city, but for our country. Bless us in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will call our meeting to order, and thank you everyone for being here. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and then we'll have a little change to it after that. So everybody's had a chance to look over those. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, second by Commissioner Langston. Any discussion on the consent agenda, which are the minutes of the February 2nd meeting? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Lowry is homesick and he will not be with us today. And the little change in the agenda we have with us today, the chairman of the county commission, Sandy Quinn, he would like to come up, say a few words. And Sandy, if you'd come up, we're glad you're here. Appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you putting me on there personally. I appreciate that. That means I can get back to school. I'm here for one reason. A lot of times in the community, you hear a lot of the city don't like the county and the county don't like the city. And so I told our board last month, I said, you know what, it's time for the city and the county to sit down. And so we can try to at least work together on some things. Because we all are here for the people. The people who we all employ for, who we work for. So I want to ask you guys, especially you, Mayor, since you're the mayor, could we sit down once a month, 3:30 to 4:30 for 1 hour on the last Wednesday of each month? Me, you, city manager, and the county administrator. And let's see how we can help you guys out, and let's see how you guys can help us out. I think it's.
I would be more than open to that, but the change of day might be good. That's right. I'm just about hole number 10 at the golf course about 3:30. So I mean, if it doesn't work for y'all, that's fine. I can make it work. I can be there. So
On Wednesdays,
yeah, Wednesdays usually. Tuesday, Thursdays are good for me. So look at that, but I do think it'd be great for us to meet once a month.
Well, let's go with Thursday.
Okay. All right. Miss Charlotte, you get me a reminder of that.
Yes, sir. Thursday.
3:30.
3:30 to 4:30.
What did you say, the last
Thursday.
Thursday?
Last. Okay. Thank you.
Starting in March.
Okay, that's wonderful. Absolutely.
And I just want to say, you guys, appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think it's easy.
No, it's not. Anybody got any questions for Sandy?
I'd just like to thank you. I mean, it's what, don't believe everything you read in the paper. I found that sometimes when we think we're at war, if you sit down and talk to each other, we're actually on the same page, just different ways of getting there. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Believe none of what you hear and half of what you read.
That's right.
So, that's usually the best way to go. Anybody else got anything?
Appreciate you coming and give us an opportunity to work together. It's time, with those that think that we don't work together, close the mouths and let's move forward together as one community.
Yes. Sandy, thanks again for coming, and look forward to meeting with you on a regular basis. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right, next little change we have, we've got our city engineer, Mr. Josh Baxley, would like to come up and go over his items Everybody ready? We're ready.
How are y'all?
Very good.
Just a quick update on the items we have. Stormwater master plan, same as before, it's been submitted to Northwest Florida. We're awaiting comment and, I guess a follow-up hearing with those guys to discuss that master plan. So at this time, we don't have any response on, we're just waiting on that response. Port City Trail, under construction. I don't know if anyone's been out there, but it looks really, really good.
Been there this morning.
CDBG sewer improvements, right now, that project is on hold. Of course, we've had bad weather, and I think everywhere else they're working. The intended schedule on that is they'll finish or begin to finish the CIPP on March 8th. There was a couple of bad areas they were looking at that were potential point repairs, which means actually removing and replacing the sewer. But they feel like that they've got a different method to actually make that CIPP line in it here, so they'll actually be able to CIPP those areas, and that's what they're gonna move forward. So they'll be doing that on March 8th. And the other item with that, we had talked about the change order was for the pipe bursting. The pipe bursting will be the last thing to come, and he's saying that's gonna be the mid to the end of April. They've got their pipe bursting crew is in Louisiana right now. And based on the weather they're having, the wetness and the storms and everything else, he feels like that's gonna back them up till about mid to the end of April before they do the pipe bursting. So that's kind of the schedule we're at right now. So the repairs are ongoing, they're just going slow. If we get any different updates on those, I'm kind of getting weekly updates from them right now, I'll let everybody know. Long Avenue and First Street, Jim, I think we finally got to go ahead, is that correct?
We got to go ahead and sign the grant agreement. We still need to check to make sure we're good to go out to bid, but I'm gonna verify that as soon as we send back, and hopefully we'll get approval in just a few minutes from the board on that.
We're still working on the specifications and stuff like that, so if we get to go ahead, we'll be able to let that out for bid. The NRCS, debris cleaning project, that's out for bid, we've gotten a ton of requests on that. I think that is March 1st.
I think so.
March 1st, I think that is. So we'll be looking forward to kicking that project off. That's all I've got on my list.
Question, anybody? Anybody? Josh, short, please. We'll call you if we see a problem somewhere, I'm sure. All right, thank you. All right. Mr. City Attorney, you got a pretty good list today.
Got several things on the agenda, Mayor. I'd like to change the order of it to begin with the ordinances that are, this is their second reading adoption phase.
Okay,
The first one being ordinance 583, dealing with the floodplain amendments. I need a motion for a second reading and adoption.
all right. Everybody familiar with ordinance 583, which is a FEMA thing that we've got to approve to continue being supported by FEMA. So I'll entertain a motion for second reading and adoption of ordinance 583.
Some
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hoffman, second by Commissioner Ashbrook. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0.
Ordinance number 583, an ordinance by the Board of City Commissioners of the City of Port St. Joe, repealing emergency ordinance number 551, floodplain management and minimum base flood elevations, adopted February 5th, 2019, amending the City of Port St. Joe Code of Ordinances to update the date of the flood insurance study and flood insurance rate plans, to specify elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, and effective date.
motion to approve ordinance 583.
We
Adopt.
had a second reading and adoption all wrapped up in one.
Oh, you can do all of it.
We did, yes. Yeah.
Withdraw them.
Something new we found out.
That's great. Save a step.
Okay, next one.
Next one is ordinance 581, dealing with the boat ramp parking. I ask for a motion for a second reading and adoption.
Okay, I entertain a motion for that. Commissioner Langston made a motion. Need a second by Commissioner Hopper. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Ordinance number 581, an ordinance of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, setting forth the monetary fine/penalty for failure to pay the boat ramp launch fee for using the boat ramp at Frank Bay Park, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All righty. Next.
Next one is going to be ordinance 580, and that deals with the length of the commissioner's terms. I need a motion for a second reading and adoption.
Okay, I'll entertain that motion.
I didn't bring the water today, you guys gotta speak up.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Langston, do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Ashbrook, all in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Ordinance number 580, ordinance of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, providing for a ballot referendum on amending Article 2, Section 13 of the Charter of the city of Port St. Joe by extending the length of the term of the mayor/commissioner and city commissioners from 2 to 4 years, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, what's next?
We are going on to ordinance 587, and that deals with the moving of the dates of the election from its current spot in May to coincide with the national, state, and county elections in the future.
Okay, everybody understand that? Anybody have a question about it?
How did you decide to handle the issue of, it may cause an extension in a term?
We dealt with that issue by mentioning it in the context of the ordinance itself.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, is there a motion for first reading and request to advertise?
So moved.
Commissioner Ashbrook made the motion, is there a second? Okay, a second by Commissioner Langston for ordinance 587. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Ordinance number 587, ordinance of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, providing for a ballot referendum and amending Article 2, Section 13, and Article 4, Section 123 of the Charter of the city of Port St. Joe by changing the date of the city's general and runoff elections to the same date set forth in Chapter 100.061 and Chapter 100.031 Florida statutes, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Okey doke. Last but not least in the ordinances.
This is ordinance, next up is ordinance 579, which is the election qualifying process. And that's basically changing it from paying a fee to you have the option of obtaining a petition, signatures on a petition to qualify.
Okay. All right, there's a motion for first reading and request to advertise ordinance 579. Mr. Langston made the motion, is there a second? Second. Mr. Ashbrook, all in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0.
Ordinance number 579, ordinance of the city of Port St. Joe, Florida, allowing candidates for the offices of mayor, commissioner, and commissioner the option of qualifying for the election for those city offices by obtaining signatures via petition in lieu of paying the qualifying fee pursuant to Chapter 99 Florida statutes, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict with and providing for an effective date.
Okay.
And I have one last thing, Mayor, and that is Resolution 2021-1, and that deals with the Scott grant application.
Jim, you want to talk about that a second?
Yes, sir. That is actually for a grant going back to FDOT for paving. We've had success over the last couple of years with Scott grants. It's very competitive, but we at least want to get an application in. If you have a connector road, let's say between the state roads, you get the most beneficial points. If you have it that goes by a school, the nursing home, those type of businesses, you get extra points for those too. Put our best foot forward on what we think may be eligible in there. Recommendation is to go with Niles Road, Madison.
And Madison was done by the county up towards the cemetery, wasn't it, a couple of years ago?
Yes.
Yes.
This will go from Long Avenue to Garrison.
Oh, it doesn't go all the way to 98?
No, the county, I mean, that's in the county.
Yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
wish it would.
Takes care of the majority of the schools on with the old signs and the safety issues that may or may not be posed.
Okay. I need, motion for resolution 2021-01.
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Ashbrook, there's a second. Second by Commissioner Hoffman, and this is a 100% grant. We have no match, so, and if we get it, it may be as much as 3 to 5 years down the road. Typical of all of them. Okay, motion and a second. Any more discussion? Anyone have any discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0.
Resolution number 2021-1, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Port St. Joe, Florida, authorizing the mayor or city manager to apply for FDOT funding through the Municipal Small County Outreach Program for resurfacing Madison Street. That concludes my business before the board.
Okay. Anyone questions for Clint? All right, we'll move right on to old business.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The first item is COVID-19. A couple of things that we need to address. First is I did give you a handout. We are looking at the positivity rate has been trending down, still at 13%. But we saw a downward trend in the last 6 weeks. Good news on the horizon there for a positivity rate.
Yeah, I would, while we're on this, I'd just like to reach out to everybody that's here and all the commission. Just remind your friends, your relatives, grandparents, parents that are eligible right now. Go out and get a shot. I'm a little bit concerned that there's some older citizens in the city that don't know how to apply, don't have a way to get to the shot and that type of thing. And of course, word of mouth is the best. If you know somebody, volunteer to take them, help them sign up. We do have some elderly folks who live alone, and they're gonna need our assistance. Or if you know a relative of theirs, ask them to help them, because I'm afraid that's where we are a little bit. As of last Thursday, we vaccinated 51% of the citizens that are 65 and older. But I think there's a lot more out there. I'd like to reach out to Chester and the ministerial group and remind, and any time you have a service, any of those people need transportation, anything like that, we can help them. So please try to do that.
The other thing, Mayor, we're still having moratorium in place on our rentals. I did have contact with the school. They are trying to put prom on for April the 10th. So we need to make some decisions moving forward with planning if we're going to keep the moratorium in place or how we're going to handle prom.
Well, it's a pleasure of the board. It wouldn't hurt for us to wait till at least the next meeting in March. That was still, I don't think they need it. If we made the decision 1st of April, it still would suffice for April 10th prom, I think, or either the 23rd meeting that we pushed back. So I wouldn't mind seeing the positivity rate, at least stay the same or get down a little bit lower.
We could approve it pending the rate staying the same or dropping. I mean, that's one thing we could do is just tell them, look, we preliminarily going to approve this, but if the rate goes up, then it's on them to.
Yeah, I think last time we did talk about what's that percent going to be.
Yeah, it's why we're right back where we were,
Mhm.
and I still think you just need to pick that number and stick with it. The health department's number, it seems, is 10, and we entered the discussion when we were at 19. Here we are at 13.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with
10.
opening anything that until we have a rate of 15 or higher. We could, I guess, send the message that as long as we're at a number below 15, if that's the case, you would be opening the buildings today. I
Yeah,
just,
then when it goes back up, we gotta close it.
yeah, you would.
Every Thursday, we'd revisit when these numbers come out.
Yeah, so it might be easier on staff right now, let's wait. I mean, we've got that one function in March that we already approved way back when. We had two functions, we had three that were prior approvals. So, or I'm fine with doing the percent thing, they just have to keep up with the health department.
I'd like to pick that number today, and I'm with you, Commissioner Hoffman. I say if we say 15%, we can go ahead and tell them, as long as the positivity rate is below 15%, the day of your problem, you can have it. If not, you can't. At least then
Okay.
they have an answer, they can start planning.
All right.
Well, but would it be, the way you just explained it, you would say if the positivity rate reached 15% the day of the event, you've closed it, but
It's the last available information is what I was thinking.
yeah, because I would hate to sell, to tell someone they have the building and they make all the plans, then the day of the event, it goes
So
up.
you almost need to say the week before.
Yeah,
I feel, I wanna say, yeah, let's do it, because it's a problem, 15%. But I think, I feel like the other, just wait for another meeting, it won't hurt to wait another meeting to see where the numbers are, instead of just
Yeah, I don't think
pushing it to something,
I don't think we've got anything coming up. I don't think we'll lose any money.
but, but it's up.
I'm fine with waiting. I just feel like sometimes we're kicking the can down the road because eventually the next meeting, we're still going to be talking about the number because that's really the only guidance we have is the guidance from the health department. And I'm 100% in supporting their guidance.
We got a point.
Well, and the bottom line is, school's not canceling extracurricular activities. Like I said before, they're gonna do it anyway, they're just gonna find someplace else to do it. So are we really preventing the spread of COVID by canceling prom? Because they're not gonna cancel prom, they're just gonna hold it somewhere else.
Yeah, that was the issue with the stack house.
Yeah, they're gonna do it anyway.
But they're just not going to do it in the city building where we have a liability, I think. Yeah.
Want to sleep on it again?
Hey, you gotta make a motion, we'll move forward with it. If not, we'll be kicked down the road to the next meeting.
Y'all look at me.
All right, moving on.
New business, we've got some good news this past week. Long Avenue grant, the loan agreement. We've been working on this for several years. If you'll turn over to page 53, I will give you a breakdown of what we're looking at. What we're looking at is a total, this is just the sewer portion for Long Avenue, $4,537,600. Of that amount, $3,630,000 is 100% grant. Okay, that's your grant amount. So if you take your total percentage on there, the total amount, 4.5, 3.6 grand, is an 80-20 grant to loan. The loan amount, the principal is $907,000, 520, 0% interest. So this goes through DEP, which is the state revolving fund, staff recommendation, long-awaited, recommend approval.
That's wonderful, Jim, and you guys really should be complimented all your work and making sure this thing went through and jumped through all the hoops. We certainly appreciate that, and it's unbelievable. If we get the water side of it, I think Long Avenue is gonna be completed sooner than later. I think we've got a little over 2 million outstanding for the water side of this project. And if that comes on, then I think we can find some money to pay it ourselves. We don't have to wait for a handout for that. So, you need a motion to authorize me to sign the grant loan agreement. Okay,
Motion to approve.
okay, Commissioner Hop made a motion, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Langston. Any further discussion? Anybody in the audience have any discussion on it? Best loan grant that we gotten, it seemed like, since I've been here. So it's going. So no discussion, all in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0. We'll sign it today.
Moving on, as we're well aware, the Maddox House was totally destroyed during Hurricane Michael. We're continuing our process of working back through FEMA, wrapping up our projects that we want to put back together. What we have for you today is a proposal for a gazebo to replace the Maddox House and a restroom also that needs to be replaced that was destroyed in Hurricane Michael. Gazebo is very similar to the one you'll see at Battery Park over in Apalachicola. That it's become a wedding destination for a lot of people. And the restroom that you see currently in front of you is the one that is downtown engineered for Reed Avenue. So, want some input from you to see if we can move forward to put these items back in place to complete our park. They're also working on the path. If you've not been down there, I think we're going to have a really, really nice park.
Absolutely. I was down there Saturday, and I went back today because they had staked off an area for the gazebo. We don't really have a site yet for the restroom. That'll be up to us. I think gazebo where they staked it off could be moved a little more toward the water. I'm gonna refer to Miss Pierce and her family on that, but Charlotte gets to the point we can ride down there, take a look at what I'm referring to. It's really a 50 feet adjacent to where it is now, but there's a little higher ridge, and it opens up the area for a view, and it puts it almost in the direct middle of all that complex with a nice view of the lighthouse too. So we just need to get a motion to go out and bid on them, and then we'll see. Mike, we got how much from insurance on the Maddox?
Well, combined insurance and FEMA is $289,000 for both facilities.
So hopefully we'll have enough money to do both. Probably gonna be kind of close, but it'll be a nice addition.
Mayor, and I would just ask an emphasis, I know we talked about additional stalls don't cost that much more. I think we had that discussion in our PDRB meeting, or I'm sorry, in the downtown redevelopment meeting. And so if we could try to add an extra stall to each of the restrooms, if we don't hit that $200 and some thousand, I think that'd be beneficial to us.
I think that's a good idea. We can back it down to this plan, but to go out to bid now, we're gonna have different plans.
Yes, that's
For
what
that.
I think. You can definitely do it, whatever style you want. But yes, we need to have a set of plans for a bidder to go in. Gotcha. Y'all let us know.
Okay, Commissioner Hall.
I'm in support of building the gazebo, and I agree with the mayor. I want to follow the direction of the Maddox family. When you said that this is a lot like the one in Appalach, what's the difference between these plans and the one in Appalach?
At this point in time, what you see there is the plans that came from our control. We still would have to give them engineered stamp, and we may have to do some changes for elevation, those type of things.
Right.
But yes, sir, that is better.
If we approve today to go out for bids, and then there's a adjustment to the size of the gazebo, does that everything stop, or can we approve something to go out for bids? Do you have to have the actual specification?
I would recommend deciding what you want, Commissioner, before we go out and bid on there, because what you want to do is you want to have it out there where you have a bid spec where they can go and see exactly what they're building. Now, what you could do is you could do it as an alternate if you wanted to, but I believe we're still going to have a set of plans from the engineers and say, okay, here's your plans here, and here's alternate number one.
I just want to make sure that prior to approving and locking in the plan of the gazebo, that the Maddox family is in agreement with the plan, because that's what was destroyed. We're just replacing it. Second off, I'm going to be totally against this bathroom idea if in any way it affects the other bathroom, because in my mind, there's 2 bathroom projects down there. And we've talked about merging them in several meetings, even back when we were with the other group before it was abolished. And I have always said, if we're gonna build a bathroom that would support whatever the future holds for Core Park. Part of what we've talked about, and I'm in full support of, is this water area. And if that ever comes to pass, and we could get the grant or funding for that, this bathroom here is not gonna be sufficient.
Right.
Nor would it be sufficient for a scallop festival or 400 people gathered at Core Park for a concert if we build a gazebo and a stage. So I'm still in support of two separate bathrooms. One would be a bathroom, kind of like what was previously down there, and that was a bathroom for the people that are utilizing this new gazebo we're gonna build. And it's kind of two separate groups of people, really. You know, you got a bunch of kids changing bathing suits and going to a water area, and then you have people that are going down there that want to just observe the bay and maybe sit out there. Those two don't go together, you know? Not my kids when they were little. You wouldn't have wanted them over there in that group, in that setting. So I'm in support of building this bathroom, and I'm fine with the size of it because I'm planning on building another one and not using this bathroom we're talking about today for the other part of Core Park.
And I'm in full agreement with that. I think that maybe even shrink it down to one stall if it's just for this little area. But when you get the splash pad and you've got the Core Park area, you're gonna need 4 or 5 stalls.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, with either scenario, we're gonna have to have these plans
Yeah.
redrawn, but we could do this. We could go ahead and go out for bid. So
it
this
comes
one
back
would
out.
be in the location of where the other one was at Maddox Park. where
As
that-
long as that works with where we want to shift.
Then,
like
then
you
the
were
good,
talking
then the one that we wanna really look for the future would be in the corner of the, Core Park, kinda over in that corner behind Ronnie B's, where it's high and dry, so.
Mayor, why don't we do 2 separate bids then, so we can pick and choose? If the
That's
restroom
correct.
comes in, so we'll do them each separate.
Yeah, and to answer Commissioner Hoffman's question, the design for the gazebo, the plans came from Apalachicola, so they're
Okay.
exact. It's the exact same
And
gazebo.
it's what the family brought to us on a slide. That was one of the examples.
Well,
Yes.
Jim got it from the current city manager in Appalachia.
Right, but she told us already that the Maddox family would be happy with that.
Yeah, right,
Yes, we've been working.
right. So, with that being said, we need, Jim needs permission to, go out to bid for the gazebo and then the restroom as presented in this packet.
I'll make that motion to go out
Okay.
for bid separately.
Correct, is that what you're
Yes,
looking for,
because
separate?
Yes,
Yeah.
basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our engineers. We need to make sure that they are signed, sealed, and meet the floodplain standards for that area. Then we'll go out to bid and get this thing back to you.
Okay, very good. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll make the second. I guess I would be one to amend your motion. I'm fine with making the second if we're in agreement to continue to work with the Maddox family and make sure that we're in line with what they desire to have.
That was implied, I thought, yes.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll make a second.
Okay. There. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. We get going on that, Jim?
The last time I had mayor was the current city project.
Well, I like it. It's done, checking them off. Anybody got any question on the city project we're working on now? For the benefit of the audience, anybody that maybe hasn't seen this, it's a page and a half of projects, so the city's staying pretty busy. I would, anybody that would like my copy, they can have it after the meeting. If we need more copies, we can get them to two people, so. Just shows that the city's staying pretty busy trying to get back to where we used to be. Okey-doke, Jim, new business, any other? Anybody? Any commissioners? Okay, Mr. Grant, come on up.
Just a couple quick things, Mayor. Heard from the contractor today for Washington Gym Pavilion, they plan on starting that tomorrow. So hopefully that gets kicked off and in a few weeks it'll be done.
Super.
So we're looking forward to that. I do have a call in to Ravens Marines with Bridges. Unfortunately, she didn't call me back this morning to give you guys an update. So once I hear that, I'll let Jenny know.
Seemed like last hour was March. Did I?
It should be right here. And that's why I tried to call her this morning, but she didn't get back to me.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you know as soon as I hear.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Anybody? Anybody got anything for John? Thanks, sir. All right, surface water plant, Mr. Larry's back there.
Mayor, I don't really have anything new for today, unless it's questions from the board.
Everything going along good as far as your bids have been out for filters and all that?
Yes.
Okay, going,
Care of all
okay. Anybody? All right, Mr. Kevin.
Just a quick update, kind of where we are. We're still discharging. We're in the 24/7 discharge cycle. Because of we're getting funds. They postponed this now last week, this week, now the next week, as far as getting parts. So, we had to kind of rob from Peter to pay Paul to get everything up and running. And so we'll discharge at this rate until we get enough parts to shut everything down and fix, and then we go back to a normal schedule of getting rid of the water. We've got a foot and a half in the lagoon, so we're making some headway. When it's raining like it is, we can maintain. We're not gaining headway. We haven't really lost. You slip a quarter inch in a bad day and that kind of stuff, and then you make it back the next day. So we got a foot and a half, which isn't too scary, but at the rate we're able to put out, I'm kind of, that's why we're pushing as hard as we are. Right now, the parts we put on order that you guys approved, the big parts, we're due here the 25th. But every week they kind of move it out. These things come from Germany. And it's just taking a while to get stuff here. And it's the only option we have in parts for those things. So in the future, what I'll do is I'll pick up some of these things that I thought I could get in a matter of days. Some of these parts that are so hard to get, and I'll start building a small bit of warehouse. So we'll have everything kind of set for now, but then every year I'll pick up a couple of these for a couple of months. So that when we hit this kind of thing, it don't hit us all at the time. That's kind of all I have for you guys, unless you guys have questions.
Anybody? All right, thank you, Kevin. All right, Finance Director, Mr. Mike.
I don't have anything for the board today, Mayor.
Okay, any questions, Mike? Okay, engineer. So, yep, took care of that. So now we're at, code enforcement, starting on page 61.
Yes, sir, Mayor. If you turn to page 61, code enforcement has been very busy. Trying to really step it up after Hurricane Michael. Thank you to everybody in town that has been working with code enforcement. A lot of people have taken care of things themselves when this happened. Don't really have to get involved too much. But if you turn to page 61, we currently have 24 structure cases. This is just active cases. This isn't everything in town. This is how many active cases he has that are dealing with structures themselves. Okay. And then if you look on page 62 to 64, this one has went through the special master. This is for Justitia Bell's property that is on Martin Luther King. It is actually pretty much just a shell of a building that's left that needs to come down. If you have an order from the special master to move forward on this, if it's the wish of the board to go out to bid to tear this one down. Same thing with Ernest Jones. Both of these are on Martin Luther King. Mr. Jones' property used to be a large, kind of like a barn that was on the right-hand side, a big shop. I believe there's a bunch of tools and equipment in it back years ago. But right now, I don't know if there's anything else. The roof's gone, some pretty bad shape. So those two are up for consideration to move forward on with the going out to bid for consideration.
Okay, all right, special master rule on those properties. We just need to have a motion to go out to bid for the demolition of those two structures.
There's not a lot to those structures, so I don't anticipate them being a whole bunch of money, but we'll wait and see what the bids come out.
Right. Okay,
I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
I just want to make sure it's clear in my mind. If I owned the property and I hadn't cleaned it up, hadn't brought it up to code, hadn't done anything, then the city, through our code enforcement, would have sent me a certified letter that I had to sign saying I received it. It announces that the city intends to go to the magistrate hearing. And then eventually, if all those things have met the requirements, then my property would be at the stage we're at now. But if I was opposed to the city demoing it or taking action against me, I would then go to the circuit court, correct?
You have 30 days from the issuance of the special master's order to appeal it to the circuit court.
Right.
Once that time expires, you're done.
Right, but and that's the part that I wanted to make sure I was reading correctly. In other words, I would have that opportunity to say, no, the city's not going to do that, and then I would, within that 30 days, file for a hearing with a higher court.
Yeah, and in all of these rulings, the special master gives the person time to come into compliance. It's only after they don't come into compliance after a certain amount of time that everything comes into play.
Okay, because I was looking at some dates on some of the cases, and they went all the way back to December. So I wanted to make sure that the city has done everything that we can do and should do to give these people opportunity to either appeal it or repair.
Well, let's see, Letitia Bell, I don't know if it's the exact property or not. It seems to me I made an order on that like 10 years ago. It's probably still sitting there.
He is correct. This was heard years ago, and no action was taken. So, yes, sir, we went through the process again for this one to make sure it was done properly.
I think we're running into problems now, Mayor, and I won't even call them really problems, but questions is, we've always had a big bark with no bite. We've never funded a code enforcement agency to actually tear structures down. So I think people aren't used to us backing up our words, and now it's happening. People are getting nervous about it.
Well, it happened back before too, man. I put an order in to tear down, remember the hotel that burned and we had an order to tear that down. We had all those row houses there. There was about 6 or 7 of them. Those were ordered to be torn down. That was at least 10 years ago.
And code enforcement we've got 2 code enforcement officers now working in conjunction with each other, so there's just about a code enforcement person riding the city every day. And we've said since the hurricane that we need to try to get the city cleaned up, and that's what they're trying to do. And frankly, if there's something on the books, we're obligated to follow it. If we want to change that, then we've got to make a motion and pass and to change this ordinance. But for now, if it's on the books, I've said it from the very first day I sat up here, there's not going to be any difference for anybody. If you have a violation, you got to fix it.
One question for you. Do we know?
A lot has to do with people thinking that you put a lien on their property and
Trying to take the property from them,
away from them.
can't do it.
And I think that we're still not understanding that it's a main issue.
Sure, that makes sense. Makes sense, but Clint kind of explained that. I mean, the lien's gonna be there forever.
You could also, I'm looking at these, I was waiting for, we get some more of them into play, and then start foreclosing on those liens. I mean, you have to look at it, see if there's any money owed on the property, and what happens is that you don't just take it, it goes to an auction on the courthouse steps, and people bid on it if they want to bid on the property.
Well, there's another whole caveat to this discussion when you talk about properties on MLK corridor. There's a lot of people that have spent a lot of time, I'm talking years, to try and bring attention to the blight and the issues of no one wanting to rebuild and get things going in a positive way. There is not an investor that I've ever dealt with that's going to invest until the city shows and the community shows that we're serious about bringing new development and new opportunities to that corridor. If you don't tear down the existing places that are an eyesore, that have been there now, it sounds like for 10 plus years, we haven't done our part, and I've pledged to try and bring attention to that area, but part of it is making tough decisions on how to get things prepared for those investors to come down there and show an interest in putting some money up.
Some of those places, it's not just a matter of the fact that they're an eyesore, they're dangerous. They're dangerous to the health and safety of local people in the community.
Mayor, do we know the percentage of people that get to this point on this list of 24 that actually would rather we tear it down for them? I mean, how many people fight the orders usually? Glenn, you've been.
A lot of times no one shows up.
So I guess, and I think we all know who we're talking about, but I would almost rather take the other properties on MLK that we know are on this list and use our money that we have this year to tear it down. I don't want to break the rules. I don't think that we should bend the rules. I think that we have to follow them. However, we're going to be forced to break the rules when we run out of money. We can tell them that we're going to tear it down, but we won't be able to. So I would rather, and this is the only legal way that I can think of to get around this would be, let's look at these other properties and what it's going to take to tear them down, and then maybe grant a little more time to bring it up to code. But still, we're not changing the judgment. We're still going to have them, have to tear it down or bring it up to code, one or the other. All we're basically doing is giving a little more time, but there are other properties, like you said, on MLK, that may be voluntarily wanting to be torn down. And I'd rather focus on those first if someone is interested in building the property back up. But whether or not that can be accomplished in any time frame, and is it worth it? Me personally, I wouldn't put any money into that property. I think it's worth more tore down. Because whoever buys it's just going to have that expense.
No doubt. Property worth zero in its current state,
Right.
and you'd have to spend a ton of money to bring it up to code, electrical, plumbing, structurally, those type things. I think it's probably worth.
Like this one, the first one, there is no bringing that up to code.
You can't.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. So I think the issue right now is we've got a couple of parcels we need to, and we've got some money left. We need to, when we get to the point that you're talking about, we'll deal with it. But right now, we've got these that the special master has recommended to us that we've got to act on. Or we don't have to, but we should. Or we don't need to be paying those guys either. So, we need a motion to go out to bid on Tisha Bell and Ernest Jones properties that's been deemed unsafe by the special magistrate. Okay. Yes, sir. And
Just these two parts.
just those two, that's correct. Tisha Bell's has it's just some triple walls. And the others, barn garage type structure, basically across the street from Tisha Bell. Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Langston. There's a second by Commissioner Ashbrook. Any further discussion? Okay, come forward and Tan, you can be next.
The question I wanted to ask was, being that the special magistrate is deemed these to be unsafe, is there any way that the city maybe can counsel these property owners to maybe get them to sell or do something with the property so the burden won't fall necessarily on the city? I'm just saying as a suggestion, maybe we could, go to them because they haven't never been pressured like this before. They might be able to be counseled to try to sell that property and the buyer maybe can do some things that won't let the burden fall back on the city. Is it possible we can?
Well, my understanding is this, and the attorney and Jim can correct me. My understanding is by the time you get the first certified letter till you get to this point is about 3 months. So, I mean, and then they give you another 30 to 45 days after that. So you're talking about 4 or 5 months that the individuals that own the property have had notice and know what to do.
Well,
And so,
I understand,
Yeah.
but I was considering that simple because I remember when we first started our project with the PAC, we was interested in trying to get the Bell property purchased. And they had family issues with trying to sell it then. And just wondering was that up for consideration or is there any?
I think that a lot of times the property owners and Tisha's, that's a different story, but property owners, talk to the code enforcement guys and they talk to Jim. I'm pretty sure they call him and he's trying to tell them what they can do. But as far as I think counseling them on their financial situation, whether it be worth more to tear down or leave up or sell it this and sell it that one. I don't think.
I understand.
Yeah.
Not to force them to do anything.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes just maybe a suggestion if you don't,
Yeah.
so don't have, because there have been some question as to can we buy the property? And I called the code enforcement on one property because someone wanted to buy it. They never did get back in.
Well, the code enforcement not in charge of buying and selling, that'd be the property owner.
No, I understand, but he told me to contact him, and I tried to contact him because there was supposed to be some further information. But there's people who are interested in buying, especially when the city don't put a clamp on something.
We had that happen on the corner of 16th and Palm Boulevard.
Yep.
When we had a tear down there, some people came forward and said, we want to buy, give us a chance to buy the property. We gave them 30 days to buy the property or it's going to be demolished. In that order, they had to demolish it themselves,
Okay.
the people that were buying it. So those are options.
Okay.
But nothing that we do, Chester, is prohibiting the sale of that house, even if we do anything to it.
Yeah.
Might hinder a little bit.
Right.
Lean on it.
Right. Yeah, we won't get the full profit.
Right,
We
right.
love compliance on behalf of citizens, and we don't have to get involved.
Yeah, come on up, Mr. Tan.
I want to thank y'all for giving me that little time to work with my sister. Reason I'm getting involved with her property on Main Street is simply because
You're 6 feet away, you don't pull that mask down, okay with that?
I'm getting involved with her property simply because over the years I know she worked hard for that, and right now she has a state of her life that we all continue to live. We don't see that. You asked Mr. Langston, he went by there and looked and talked to her. And I think she, like Eric said, she thinks she saw David when she seen him. But if it was just the grandkids, I probably wouldn't be standing up here as her. So we're gonna get her in compliance and get everything up to the code where we can satisfy the city. But talking about helping with people, you got to understand, I look at being a commissioner as someone to reach out to help the people. That's your job. You don't work for the city, you work for the people. And you have to figure out a way to try to help the people. And we're talking about putting a lien on a person's house or a person's property. And we're talking about going to the co-house step. Well, we know that's where the guys with all the money standing because they finna get something for nothing. Or they finna get something for a little bit. That's why they standing there, But my thing is, and it's just a suggestion. I mean, we got a city of St. Joe, and I used to be a heavy equipment operator for the city for a long time. We got a dump truck with the city. The county got an excavator. If we can sit down and make a plan of the day, when John and the county guys get together, make a plan to come together one day. We don't have to put those people property on that courthouse step. Because our excavator can tear it down. We got somebody that can operate it. We got somebody that can drive the truck. The county on the landfill like that, we talk about something like that. I mean, it's something that we can sit down besides putting their property. These people worked hard for their property. And to watch somebody take it and put it on a courthouse step because they done got older where they can't do the things they used to do. That's me. I'm sorry that I'm like that. And I can't see that. I would like to try to figure out some kind of way that we can help those folks get it clean. All we gotta do, we got a lawyer here, he can drop a piece of paper and say that we can go on that piece of property. You can't sue us for nothing. If we get it, clean it up. We get there and we talk with the county, got a place out there, we take it out there and put it.
We've done something.
Yes, this is something have been did, and that's what I'm saying. It can be did without putting their property. My thing is, if you put their property on that courthouse step, I can sit here and name you the people gonna be sitting there waiting on it. I ain't got nothing, I'm gonna leave that alone, but it can be did. I truly believe it can be did.
Well, Dan, let me just clarify one thing. Today, what's being voted on is whether we go out to bid the demo, not to sell it on the courthouse steps. That's gonna have to come back before this board again, I would assume, if we went to that step. I don't believe we've done it yet since I've been on this board.
Well, I just, my thing is, if you make a trail, sooner or later somebody's gonna go down.
But keep this in mind too, Dan, we all are here for the people.
And
And one non-compliant neighbor affects the property values of every neighbor around them
I
as well.
understand, I
You know
understand that, but if we can get those pieces of property down, get them cleaned up, use the equipment that these people work their whole life to help pay taxes for. Get the piece of paper, just get it out of there, we not that, this is one of them deals where you just come out short. But it's got to be cleaned up, and I understand about cleaning up, I'm not against that, I'm 100% with you on cleaning, I just, when I hear something like that, something can go wrong in that. And I know some people who sit back listening on stuff like that, hope that something like that do happen. They won't say nothing, but they're waiting on it. And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. I'd be willing to be on the committee or something and sit down and talk with people, to go talk to people, or whatever we got to do to get the structures down. I just hate to see that. Don't even use that word, go to the courthouse step. That's what I'm saying.
You're wanting us to work with the county, tear them down at the county and the city's expense, so you don't have to put a lien on it.
Really, I'm not trying to be funny. When you already own a dump truck, you already own or excavator. I mean, it's there.
And how much time would you need to get it either up to compliance or get a deal struck with the county? Because I don't believe that falls on our shoulders to go to the county.
Well, I don't mind going to them. I mean, they can only tell me no.
Right.
I don't mind. You said no, and if you said no again, that means you just make it come back again, next again.
What happened, Tam, for years, we had that ability, when the county owned the landfill, you could carry things to it. Right now, things aren't, you can't bury.
Well, the
things.
county got the landfill back now.
But I don't believe you can bury anything at the landfill. It's just a transfer.
It's a trick. Well, I mean, we can, let's sit down to the table, talk with them. This is what we can come up with before we go to talking about. I mean, Mr. Don Butler taught me you put everything on the table and you start taking it off as you don't need it.
All right, let's do this. We got a motion and a second. We're gonna vote on these, the motion, and then after that is your sister's
Yeah.
case, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0. Okay, now we're down to, Miss Ruby Farmer's property that was, ordered on, what's the order date on that? November 13th. It was given 30 days to bring it in compliance. Well, property in shall 60 days from the date of this order to complete the demolition and required cleanup, which we did vote on this. When was it, Jim, last meeting before?
Yes, sir, you voted the last one. This thing was already out to bid, so we've already went through the bid process and you awarded the bid at the last meeting.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
For the attorney. What happens if in the process that we're talking about, even if it is to the point of awarding the bid for the demo, and the property owner does sell the property, what, does the whole process start over at that point?
No. It's on the property itself.
So then the new
And
owner,
it'd be their due diligence to make sure that they knew what was going on with the buyer.
So during a title search, they would see this judgment.
This is recorded at the courthouse.
Okay.
This order of the special magistrate is recorded. So it'd be up to them to figure it out, but this goes with the land. It doesn't go away.
And in this particular case here, Jim has not notified the low bidder that he got the bid in deference to Mr. Smiley's request that we slow the process down a little bit.
We notified the other one that we had on Palm Boulevard, so that was moved, but this one we just did not notify the
At this
contractor.
particular juncture, it's totally up to you. They've blown the time to appeal this. You could always pull it back, or you could go forward. I mean, it's up to the board.
Well, I just,
But you have to remember consistency
uh-huh.
issues.
Like Mr. Ashbrook said, emotionally, I'd like to pull it back, but according to our ordinances, we can't necessarily do that because we've got all these others that
You gotta be
we've already
consistent.
done, and we've all said that we're gonna be consistent with
Can I
everything we do, and, I just,
Can I make a suggestion there?
yes.
Can we wait and see what the cost to tear these other two down that we just voted on actually is going to be? There is a very real possibility that we may run out of money. There really
That's
is.
a moot issue at this
It
point.
really isn't, though, Mayor. I've got 24 houses that we're gonna tear down and only have money to tear down maybe 6 this year.
But we voted and awarded the low bid
Yeah.
on this particular house.
It sucks.
Oh, it does. It does, but as far as being emotionally attached to, we can get that way, but then that's gonna be problems.
I just hate to get contacted in 3 weeks by somebody else saying, I want you to tear mine down, and I'm on that list.
Well,
We don't have the ability to do that,
I know, and nobody wants to tear any houses down, but they're unsafe,
Well, I would still
and
be,
we're trying to clean up the city. I don't know why anybody want to be against it.
and I kind of feel like our job is to protect the citizens, and first and foremost is their safety. If we could bring it up to safety compliance in the next week, board everything up so it's safe, and then wait and see if these other two are gonna exceed our limits, what we can afford to do.
I mean,
Either way, I'd hate to
the
spend the money
property
even board it
owner,
up to tear it down.
property owner could put it up for sale.
Yeah.
Is that an option?
No, I can tell you right now, she don't want to sell it. You're dealing with somebody that's having dementia real bad, and, I just wanna get it up, wait to get the cold up off of her. I can't predict no life or death, I hope don't let that happen to my sister, but, right now, if a lien go up against our house, $11,500, like I know, is going on that courthouse step for, that right there.
No, it won't.
I mean, somebody gonna have to pay the $11,500. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be
When
talking
you-
about it.
When you sell it or whatever, the
You
only
can sit
way
there
to go
for-
to courthouse steps, if we decide to foreclose on our lien, I've been here 15 years, we've yet to do that.
I've been involved in code enforcement in city court since 2006. That's never happened.
See,
So
but see,
that-
guys, I mean, you got to understand where I'm coming from. My heritage, my history, I don't trust stuff like that. I've seen lots of people get taken. And I never got it. I done seen it and heard of lots of stuff like that. And it just, don't put me up under something I don't wanna be up under. All I'm asking for is just, I wasn't involved 2 weeks ago. I didn't talk to nobody 2 weeks ago about this house. I was told that Tan, issue going on with your sister, man, you need to get over there and kind of check on and see what's going on. Well, when I was told that there, I picked up the phone and I called my other brothers. And I told them that we got an issue with the sister. They told me to go find out what we need to do and get back with me and let me know. Well, we got back with them and I got back with them. We had a little conference call on telephone. We all talked about it. We put together a letter that I was supposed to present to the mayor.
Okay, Ms. Pierce, you got one?
No.
Okay.
Get one to Ms. Pierce
Thank
right
you.
there. And that's what we asking right there. But now this is something that you just don't, just like you guys sitting there putting up plans together to do stuff. You just can't jump up and do it overnight. But I'm asking for just a little bit of time to get started.
Well, one thing that you said, Dan, that makes me real nervous is that if we put it on the courthouse steps for $11,500, that you ain't gonna be able to do that. Well, you're gonna need 10 times that amount to bring the house up to code. That's the thing.
Well, when I said bring it up to code, I mean, can I go in there, board it up, wrap the roof up so we can get on it, clean up around it real good? That won't satisfy?
That won't bring it to code. The roof
Right.
has to be on it and not leaking. There has to be utilities run to it. I mean, it has to be a
You have to
habitable
get a
structure.
permit from the building department.
It has to be a habitable structure.
So we can't go in there and clean it up, paint it?
That's what I was gonna get to the point of is maybe, our job here is to write laws, that's it. And that's what we do. And so if we wanted to entertain the idea of possibly changing the code enforcement to making a
So that law
structure.
right there said telling me that I can't do that. My nickname, Dr. Mel Strong
I didn't run.
I'm just gonna talk when Strong Arm is when you bigger than me and making me do
All right,
something.
hold on just a second. Commissioner Langston might make
Okay.
a comment.
I went to Ms. Ruby and talked to her, and I know she's suffering real bad with dementia. I understand where Tan's coming from, and if we could, give me a little extra time, I would be willing to do that. But it's not completely up to me. I mean, we have a board, but I just want you to know that, I definitely understand where you're coming from. And, I think it may be a way to move forward with this without, anyone losing anything, which I believe that, but I asked the question last meeting, once we, go through with this, a lot of people, once they bid on it, if there any way to stop it then, and, Jen said no. That's one of the reasons I asked, because I wanted to know, once it get past a certain point, is there anything that anyone can do to stop it? And, I talked with Jen, and I told him that, I think it was a few weeks ago, he had just found out about it. He stopped me on the golf course, he stopped me saying that, he didn't know anything about it. I told him that we had already, put out the bid for it, and, I told him that, as far as I know, that we couldn't do anything else about it, but he said he wanted to get, his brothers involved because they really didn't know what was going on at the time. So, but to make a long story short, I feel, like we should give him a little extra time if he wants to do this, but it's not completely up to me. I'm just one person. And, we need to move forward with it, either way.
I have a comment, Mr.
All right, go ahead.
I've heard the word consistency used over and over, and I'm all about consistency. If we're gonna tear a house down, it's gotta be based on why have you tore houses down in the past? And I hadn't sat up here that long, so I'm only gonna talk about what I've seen. And I know that we did tear a house down a block away from here, and it was a crack house. But even with the crack house that we decided to work in partnership with the county and tear it down, I still had reservations. It's easy to label it crack house, but there was also other family members that had a portion of ownership to that property. And I watched those people stand out there and watch that house get torn down. And they weren't any part of the illegal activity. And that was tough to be involved in and support that. So I think we have to reflect on what have we done to be consistent with. Well, this is the first time that we've had a family member come before the commission and say, you gotta help us. You gotta do something a little different. The one that we tore down on Palm, we didn't have anybody come and say, well, I'm a, part of that family, and can you slow this train down? And you hear me question this whole process over and over because I think it's extremely important for the city to follow the rules, because if we make a mistake, it's going to be major. You're going to have lawsuits from the rest of the family. So I think we can still consider extending time or putting a halt to the demo and still be consistent, because we haven't had this before. Now, if 6 months ago we had a family member come and ask for time and we said no, and we tore it down, I wouldn't entertain what you had to say today, because we would have to be consistent. But as long as I've served here, we've not been faced with this. So in my mind, I wrote a note down. I was like, crack house versus a person that needs assistance or has dementia. So I think you have to take that into consideration. So I would support the idea of an extension in time, not to go on without an end. You gotta have a time frame. It may be 90 days, it may be 60 days, but I think if for no other reason than to safeguard the decision you're about to make, and that's tear down somebody's house. It may be an eyesore to me, but it may be, a whole different issue to not only Tan's sister, but the rest of the family as well. So that's where I'm at.
Here's a letter that he presented. I acknowledge receipt of the city's letter requesting that I bring my property on Avenue A in compliance with the city code. It is my plan to bring my property in full compliance with the city code. My property suffered damage from a hurricane. It'll cost more than $10,000 to repair the property. I request additional time to renovate my property. I plan to take the following steps in phases. Phase 1, immediate action within 30 days. Paint the exterior, clean and remove all debris from around the property and secure the property. Phase 2, repair and replace the roof and windows. Phase 3, fully renovate the interior consistent with the code. The first phase had a time limit. The other phases do not have a time limit. I will have to defer to Commissioner Ashbrook. Everything that, and it's not signed, I assume Ms. Farmer would send something in for sign.
Yeah, I can give it a sign.
Yeah. So the 3 phases here, Tan, are gonna cost way more than $10,000.
That's what we know.
And that's why I keep saying,
But you gotta understand
let
something
us
too.
tear it down, you can, it's worth a lot more to you.
But you got to understand,
Yeah.
the way the codes and stuff, I don't know how that sounded in that area, but it was something like the rest of them, is a 10 feet setback or something.
I mean, that wouldn't be an issue to you because the property, unless you want to build a new structure, otherwise, corner Avenue A and MLK across from the bank, that piece of dirt's gonna be worth a lot more to you than putting your money in to renovate. That's just me.
Well, but I'm looking at it from a family point of view.
I understand.
My sister worked her whole life buying stuff like that. And to sit here and watch somebody take something, put 11,500. So if she do sell it, she got to get that to them first. So basically, you're putting a double. I mean, I hear what I'm saying, I'm just trying to step up to make sure, I don't wanna see her lose her property like that. And to me, that's just a form of a way of later on down the road. It's, it's like a rise, and it's gonna grow and grow to a bust.
All right, well, we're gonna have to move on from this, guys. We're gonna, if somebody's got a motion that, legally we could come up with, then I would entertain it, but, this is course of action is gonna have, Commissioner Hoffman says, gonna have to have an end date on there.
Well, I'm scared to make any kind of motion, because what happens if you do put 10,000 into it, and it still isn't up to compliance, and then we gotta tear it down, then I'm gonna feel even worse, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
these 3 steps gonna cost way over $10,000.
Well, let me bring up one other thing, while we're looking at all the avenues. I know either at our last meeting or maybe the meeting before that, we had a presentation, or we were presented with a brand new program that was focused on monies that had just been released through the state, that either, the way she said repair, replace, or rebuild. And it was structures and homes that were affected by Hurricane Michael. And they set up an office out at, by the paint store, because I mentioned it to a couple of people I know that have houses that were, suffered damage, and they were gonna go out there and apply. I'm just curious, have you looked at any of these programs for help?
Well, like I said, I just got involved. I haven't had a chance to really look at nothing.
Right.
But if you guys gonna sit here and tell me y'all gonna tear the house down anyway, ain't no.
Well,
need-
and that's my point.
Ain't
That's
no
the
need
problem.
Yeah, ain't no need of me going out doing no research on that.
Well, I would.
Cause I know for a fact, I know money out there to help people. And when I was in the business of looking for stuff to help people, I come up with all kind of money to help. The money is out there.
Right,
Exactly.
and that's why I say we need to tread light when we talk about, once you tear it down, it's done.
It's gone.
But I think that's why Commissioner Langston has brought up the idea of an extension, is if, the owner may not have been mentally capable of looking into those avenues for help.
But she got somebody, into it and looking with her right now.
What's the time frame that you thinking about that you need to get it under compliance?
But when you say under compliance, if you're talking under compliance, $100,000 under compliance, I'm not gonna even put a time on that. But if we're talking about cleaning it up, getting it structurally, but we can go in there and start working on it when we get everything, get us a plan put together. I had already talked with the captain out on the beach to bring in me a dumpster to come through there and go through there and clean it all out and do what I got to do to it to get it for as safe and up to compliance like that. Before I go, I'm not taking up and go in and tear a roof off and tear it back off, because you got to have an engineer to come in before you can think about taking the roof off.
She has other properties inside in the city.
Yeah, she got other property. But see, like I said, as of right now, what, a year and a half ago, I think she had a stroke, and that just slowed her completely down right there. And, sister just ain't there like it was at one time. At one time, I wouldn't be standing up here talking to you. Eric can tell you, she'd be standing here talking for herself.
The only way I know this thing can go forward is if Jim keeps putting off the low bidder.
The notifying of the approval.
Yeah, and I don't know if the low bidder will come along and say, I know I got low bid, I'm ready to move forward. Otherwise, attorney has a way to get around putting them off for, I mean, it's gonna take a minimum of 90 days to do what you're proposing to do.
Like I said, we're gonna get started on it, I'd like to talk to the captain them about bringing in one of the big dumpsters to sit there beside it.
Do you have any idea how much it's gonna be to do all these things that you said you're gonna do? In the different
It's
phases?
just, I mean, you gotta go to the building department and do most of it.
Is it realistic? Is
I know we checked with the building department on putting the permit and stuff on trying to get the roof, but like I said, I just help like on everything until I can get
Roof
some.
costs $10,000.
I'll tell you what I'm willing to do, if y'all are on board with this. Why don't we give you until the first meeting in April to come up with a plan? I would encourage you not to spend any money on it yet. Maybe make it safe, that's the one thing that I'll ask, to cover our butts for legal liabilities. Board up the doors, the windows, try to figure out a plan. I don't feel like it's our job to come up with a plan of how to take it and get it up to compliance, that's on you. But I'm willing to make a motion to do that, and let you have until the first meeting in April to come up with a plan. It does not negate the magistrate's order, we will still tear it down if you don't come up with some sort of plan to bring it into compliance. Or sell it,
But
or
what I'm
whatever
saying
you want
is-
to do.
What I'm saying is, just if we come in to come up with a plan, we get a roof on it. Putting the roof on it ain't gonna make it ready for you guys, I mean, cause we can do on the inside and take the time to work on it, once you get the roof on it, you can take the time to work on the inside, I mean, you got people who take the time to work on stuff like that all the time, they don't just go out and hire a contractor to come in and.
You need to go find out exactly what you need to do. Call the code enforcement inspector, building department, what do you actually need to do to bring it into compliance?
What would be the bare
And then
minimum?
how much is that gonna cost? How long is it gonna take?
But see, I'm not, I'm working on the compliance of the building inspector, I'm working on the compliance of the code enforcement.
Code enforcement, right now, code
Okay,
enforcement.
what is the code enforcement? I mean, he got the same standard as the building inspector?
He's public safety.
Yes, so what would it take for him to make it publicly safe? Building inspector is talking about billing.
You need to call him, says respondents to contact the code inspector at such a number, and find out what exactly he needs to have done.
The code.
Here's what we ought to do.
I'm trying to find out who
We
do I
don't
talk
need
to.
we don't need a motion. Dan's heard enough, he knows what to do.
Sure.
What he needs to do. All we have to do is not notify the low bidder while he works through the process. You know what you gotta do, you told us what you were gonna do.
Yep,
But I think we need to set a deadline for ourselves, or we're kicking the can.
Oh, no, oh, yeah, I agree with that. I agree, and that, between now and then, code enforcement, and everybody else say, well, they're really working on this house to get
so
it back up, let's go
who
tear it down.
who is the code enforcement that I talk to?
Well, you got Richie Burkett or you got Frankie Fennell.
I would feel comfortable at the next meeting hearing that the homeowner or hear it from Tan representing the homeowner, that they had indeed went and applied for these different programs to get some assistance to bring it into code. And maybe there's funding there to put a roof on it. And, you know, we also have other groups, I know of two right off the bat, that do projects in our city for people that are in need. I would feel good to hear from you at the next meeting that you went and applied for these programs.
Aren't
And-
most of those though, Commissioner, that's your primary residence?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yes.
there's
They're
gonna
not
be
gonna
too many
fix
things out
up
there
somebody's
for
house
second
unless they live
homes.
there. Not just for a house, maybe for future rental or something. That's, but anyway, I go along with you.
Yeah,
we're
well,
gonna-
and that would just be a report back
we-
that you went and that they denied it.
Right, right.
Just be more information.
So Tan, come back to the next meeting and let us know what you're doing. I think this board is, I don't think we need a motion, I just think by first meeting in April, that there should be a lot of activity there, as long as we can hold off the low bidder. So that's what we're gonna do, we're moving on. Let's go.
Seriously consider us doing that for you
Let's
is really
do
a
that.
favor. You ain't gonna get it tore down on the private sector for that price, and that land is worth more without a house on it.
I understand clearly what you're saying, I don't, the 11.5, that's what, the 11.5 is bothering
Gonna
me.
cost you that?
I mean, that's
Where,
bothering me.
it's gonna cost more than that for you to go tear it down.
So also maybe work with Sandy and see if you
But we're
can't
gonna-
get something worked
And
out
we're
there.
gonna talk with them and see, because I mean, we got the equipment, we got the guys to drive, I don't understand what you think.
All righty.
All right.
Police department, Mr. CP, see you back there. You guys have anything? Okay, thank you guys for your work. Ms. Pierce?
Yes, sir. You will notice there's not a lot of excitement in my voice, but that's okay too. Because the Hurricane Michael NPS subgrants ranked funding list, our Centennial Building was ranked number 12, our Cape San Blas Lighthouse was ranked number 9. They supposedly are going to fund $8.1 million, and the feds have provided the money, it's at the state, has to be reviewed by the Secretary of State, the NPS. I mean, we've been in the top 10 before, we've been number 1 in the state, we didn't get any money, so hopefully our luck has turned.
56 times the charm, is that what
Yes,
you're
sir,
saying?
we passed the
Yeah.
third one a long time ago.
Yeah, and Washington Jim has.
Washington Gym is on here for, I'll put these on, I believe I can read a little better.
Number,
83,000, number 10.
they're number 10, so we've
And-
got 1, 2, 3, 4 projects inside the city.
Mayor, there's
Well,
one about the bay.
They're the
Bay.
archaeological,
Yeah. we don't know
assessing
anything about
significant
that.
St. Joe Bay archaeological sites following Hurricane Michael.
Dig around
And then the
back.
Fort Theater also was ranked in the top 12. So, yes, sir.
Anyway, we got some good projects.
Yes,
We
sir.
know, that they're gonna fund down to 26 versus 29 or something. But last year, that's why Ms. Pierce is jumping up now.
Yeah, this can't be line item veto though, I don't think. This is federal money that's already been appropriated. So
But I think you'll find it can be moved in order.
Yeah, the Secretary of State
Switch
Can move it.
take the
Yeah.
list and not fund any of it. And
I hope they
that's,
don't do that.
that's
Well,
what happened last year.
We've been there, done that, and we're not gonna get excited till we have something showing us, here it is.
Yep.
But hopefully, we're gonna finally get some help for the Centennial Building. It's been a long, arduous process of
And sure has.
going up and down, but maybe now we're gonna
We've
make
got
it.
a lot of good things happening, so we'll see if
Yes, sir.
that'll just piggyback, move on through with it.
We hope so. We'll probably be a couple months before we know anything.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. Citizens to be heard. Come on up, sir. State your name, sign in.
Eddie Fields, Port St. Joe, outside.
Okay.
As I was listening, it's been quite a while since I've been to some meetings, so I might be kind of out to date on some of the stuff. I was glad to hear Ms. Pierce said that they're gonna be working at the gym. And that before COVID really hit, we was talking to, I think the project coordinator from FEMA. He wanted to work with the city and the county. And we was talking about the gym at that time. The gym definitely need major renovation. When you mentioned about bathrooms and restrooms, I kept putting a check by it every time we mentioned a restroom somewhere, because bathrooms, restrooms are definitely needed in the gym. We definitely need some bathrooms, restrooms at the WIG building, because those bathrooms been there since the structure been built. I was going to school back during that time, I'm 68 years old now, so you tell you how long that is, and that was before my time. One of the other things, basketball complex. I went out there last meeting that we were talking about that, getting the name was fitting, what it was gonna do. I walked the track just to kind of see what was going on, and I noticed a hurricane has tore down the fence back there by the large basketball court. And I noticed the barrels come across that fence, and it's stopping people from going out there walking around. So we build a new basketball court out there, it's gonna be the same thing. And so they're coming across there looking for food, so we can fix that fence, which probably hopefully be a minor project, get the fence up, we'll be good to go there. Also on the track, they got a big crack there. As you're walking, at some point along, people gonna be walking out there, if they're tired, they're gonna step on that spot, boom, ankle crack or something like that, which I think that'd be a minor project too. while you all out there working. And as I was walking, I noticed the flag, it was getting kind of dark, the flag, is a light that shine on that flag? That's, I guess I'm speaking as a veteran now. There's a flag shining on that flag, but it stays up all night.
You tell me, I don't know.
No,
It's not,
No.
okay, okay.
I think at least a light on the flag, I was wondering, well, who's maintaining this flag? Because that city flag up under and then the American flag at the top. And like, that right there, they just put a light on it, you ain't gotta take it up and down. Put a light on it. But that's all I really had.
Thanks for coming and bringing all these to our attention, and we'll get Mr. Grantland to help us, see what we can do to fix some of those.
Be sure that.
Yes, sir.
For the record, don't we have engineering drawings for the restrooms already out there, right?
We got it.
Yeah.
We just been
I think
waiting on
they're coming to the
funding.
gym.
Yeah, we're ahead of you on that, Ed.
Very good.
Well, we were agreed with the county. The city would take $75,000, set it aside. The county would take $75,000 to fund for $150,000 total. And then the county informed us a month or so ago that they had changed their mind on just funding a straight $75,000. They put in for a grant. And if they are funded the grant, they've now promised us our money. That's why the bathrooms have not been built. So if you have a chance to mention that to your county side, that's what I was told personally, that they put in for a grant, and as soon as that grant comes in, if it comes in, we then would get our money.
Definitely will be
The city's ready to take a picture with us digging dirt and starting a building, and when the county is holding it up right now.
That's good to know. I'll be talking to Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you, good.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Eddie. Anybody else? Okay, I think, I'll start Commissioner Hoffman today.
Mr. Mayor, I had, prior to the meeting, I made a long list of items that would talk about what I just shared with Mr. Fields. And that is actual actions instead of just words that makes people in the community feel that the county and the city don't always work well together. But the fact that the county chairperson came today and presented a plan to try and alleviate some of these issues, I'm not going to go down my list. I'm going to just keep the list to myself, and I'm going to look at their offer as a way to resolve and hopefully shorten this list. So that's all I have today.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Langston.
I wasn't gonna say much until, Tan came up, but I just wanted to say that I think, commissioners and staff, I think we're doing a good job as far as cleaning up. I mean, it's something that has to be done. I think things need to be, taken, one step at a time, and sometimes, you have to make decisions to try to help others, before you go ahead and do what you're going to do. Eventually, you're probably gonna do anyway. I mean, give them an opportunity. And, I think that we're doing the right thing. I think that it's time for change. And in order for things to change, people are not going to like certain things. That's the only way we're going to move forward. But I just want to say that I like the discussion that we have. And just as a board, I think we're making the right decisions at this moment. So, with that said, I'd like to say thanks to the board and to the staff for the job that you're doing.
Yes, sir, thank you. Anything else, Commissioner?
Short and sweet, Mayor. I think we brought this up probably about a year ago. I talked to Jim about it. The lanes coming off of First Street in 98, nobody seems to know which lane they can turn right in and which one they can go straight or turn left in.
Traffic light?
Yes. There's only one painted arrow on the road, so if there's one car waiting, the cars behind them don't know that they can't go straight from that right-hand lane. I've witnessed again another almost accident. My request the last time was that we put some signs up high on the poles that show right-hand turn and then straight straight and left on the left-hand side. What would be involved in getting those signs put up there? There can't be much of an expense to put up 2 signs.
You gotta talk to FDOT, John.
Probably do need to run through traffic out, yes, sir.
But even if we just painted 2 additional arrows further back to let people know, because I'm telling you, 1 or 2 cars blocks that arrow, you don't know where to go.
I told Commissioner Ashbrook, I felt the same way, I've done that before myself, you pull up and was on my own, and ran the right lane, I'm covering the arrow sign, just went my switch direction.
I've been honked at many times, being in the correct lane, and someone on the right-hand side of me is following me up to McDonald's and runs up on the curb.
And that, I believe we could do that ourselves, just call somebody and get some striping and stuff.
Oh, look into that then.
And then the very last thing, I have to apologize to Commissioner Hoffman, he was absolutely right, it was not Tom Brady that won, it was his defense.
Buy me a cigar.
You got it.
Call it even.
That it?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Only thing I've got is just, maybe I should have said it when the, police department update. There's a Mardi Gras parade today on Reed Avenue at 5 o'clock. I'm sure the city police are aware and ready for that, but, just want to remind everybody of that if they want to go down and have, get out in good cold weather today and, see what's going on. I saw something on TV this morning, first parade they had, I believe, in 2015, 14, 15, they had 1 float in it. So it ought to be interesting today to see how it turns out. But anyway, that's all I have today. And thank everybody for coming, their interest, and we'll stand adjourned.